Edward Carr, deputy editor of The Economist, writes that Putin is incapable of defeating Ukraine on the battlefield, and Putin's strategy is failing. Some believe that the Russian president believes in the advantage of time. Otherwise, he would have already negotiated peace. But the lessons of Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq show that leaders cling to power in the hope that anything will change. So Putin is likely to continue the war in 2026, waiting for his generals to find new tactics, Ukraine to run out of resources, Zelensky government to collapse, or Trump or Europe to lose patience. But if none of that happens, Putin will face a terrible price. And it seems that none of this will not happen, really.
What it seems like is that I know that it is kind of unfashionable to say these days, but thanks to Biden, the Ukraine got 3 years of time and a lot of help. Not enough help, but a lot of help, which bought it time and really helped to sustain and withstand several waves of Russian orcs who were, attempting to, when Putin threw everything he had before we had the really modification into, drone warfare that we see now. This had a lot to do with aid from President Biden, who saw the responsibility of the United States differently than some other people, but still more so than any other president, I believe, before and after him, and was more decisive than any other American president in helping a foreign country that is not a member of NATO. I don't know, I think officially barely an ally, but I think that Biden saw the responsibility and importance that Ukraine plays in stopping Russia. And that put, even though right now it's kind of hard to discuss things that didn't happen and how things could have gone differently. But it's pretty obvious that if President Trump was president when Russia engaged in the big invasion of Ukraine, this war would have been over in, well, maybe not 24 hours, but pretty darn sooner than, not much longer than that, because there would have been no aid. There would have been just, maybe not even plane for Zelensky to evacuate. I think that with this understanding and with this, with these particulars, now Putin is stuck because the window is closed, because now Europe understands how crucial Ukraine is, because Ukraine has found a way to not defeat, but to fight back effectively with drones and destroying Russian oil refinery capacity. And we know, if John McCain was right about anything, is that Russia is a gas station masking as a country, as a state. And so this is where it's important to hit the gas station where it hurts. Of course, there's also a matter of gas, but I think that this is a work in progress, and then I trust there will be more attacks coming. So with all of this, window has closed because Europe is paying attention. Ukraine got its module back if it ever lost it, and now the world can learn from Ukraine of how to be, that when we are looking to find ways to resist and to find way to fight back in the challenges that we are facing, all of a sudden we now look at Ukraine and tell ourselves that we should be brave like Ukraine. So maybe it's United States helped Ukraine, and now Ukraine is helping all of us.
Yes, President Donald Trump has ordered the launch of an operation against drug cartels in the Western Hemisphere. The Department of War has already begun carrying it out, according to a post on X by U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Today, I'm announcing Operation Southern Spear, led by Joint Task Force Southern Spear. This mission defends our homeland, removes narco-terrorists from our hemisphere, and secures our homeland from the drugs that are killing our people, Hegseth wrote. He also stated that the Western Hemisphere is America's region. What are the Trump's key goals in this military operation and in the region as a whole? Is it the war or on drugs, yes, or oil profits?
Well, I feel like first, if this really is starting, then I would like to apologize and bring condolences to everyone whose lives and livelihood is going to be affected by this that are not drug cartels, because drug cartels deserve to be destroyed, but we know that there will be a lot of people that will suffer around, and this is going to be, it has to be a legal operation, and it clearly is not going to be one. Because we see that our president is looking to distract attention from the Epstein case again and again. It's almost like, oh, look at this. We're starting a war with Venezuela, and the House of Representatives haven't even voted yet. Wow, can you think what's going to happen when it will be time for Senate to vote? And will he start a nuclear war if he has to veto the Senate voting to release Epstein files? How is this? Where is this going to end if we're already at war with Venezuela? Yes, this is a Trump approach of punching those that are not able to punch back. And we see this everywhere, from his policy towards transgendered people to policy towards immigrants to policy now towards Venezuela. But it will not distract people. It will just create more chaos and criminality. And the people that are suffering from drug addiction will find other ways to get their addiction satisfied. This is ridiculous. We are not doing anything that's actually going to help people who need our help. This is also typical Trump administration, where instead of providing funding for people to help them solve their problems, we're going to use army and bring that, or National Guard and bring that in our cities, instead of helping police by funding more police. It's just a reality on steroids of what we've been experiencing in the United States for a long time. And because Venezuela cannot vote in the United States, and Marco Rubio has had a problem with Venezuela for a long time, we see that whenever Trump is in power, Venezuela is like Russian Voronezh, which is the proverbial city that's always going to be suffering no matter what's happening in Russia. It's always going to be tough for poor Voronezh. So in this case, Venezuela, just no matter what, they're going to be, if Trump is in power, they're going to be in trouble. And is it going to change anything? Is this going to lead to a protracted war? Which is probably the most relevant question. I will say, one, it is distracting attention from Ukraine, because one of the great things about peace in the Middle East, whether it exists or, how solid is it, we never know, is that when there is no active war operations, that means that people can pay more attention to Ukraine as the other war, and really bigger war at this point, and always been, than the war, and so the activities in anywhere else in the world. But now, if Venezuela is going to be entering that picture of tragedy and destruction, then that means that we'll be speaking more about Venezuela. And here I am speaking to you, a journalist in Ukraine, about Venezuela. So in a way, this distraction is working. But ultimately, this is not a president who is willing to engage. So far, he has shown that he's not willing to engage in long-term, protracted military activities. He is interested in quick grab and run, dash and roll, dash and run. Grab some, like similarly to how Russia grabbed Crimea when its neighbor's house was on fire. Russia ran in and said, "Oh, you won't be needing this," and ran out with Crimea. That is an approach that our president has, one of many things he clearly always admired about Putin. So I think that this is more likely to be a severe storm than a climate change, because running Venezuela is ultimately not something that Trump was interested in. Well, I mean, he'd like to in his perfect world, but if it's going to be difficult, he'll do something else. And if it's not distracting attention from the Epstein case, he'll have to do more and shift his resources elsewhere.